Hey, Marfoogle TV going live in 3, 2. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, Marf. Let's get right into it. So, as we've covered with Cuba, Cuba has been a huge center point to everything that's going on, alongside with Venezuela, Colombia, Ecuador, and all of these other places that have been involved in this latest kind of crazy escalation back and forth. Now Iran. Of course, Cuba has been embargoed. This total oil embargo, so no oil has been going to the island. Well, I just said 2 nights ago that I wondered if China would actually aid them, because now they are getting to the point where they would even deal with our president because of the point that they're at. Well, last night we covered that China is actually bringing them solar panels, and somehow they're able to do that. They are basically going to help them sustain and get around the whole oil embargo, or at least that's what it looks like. Well, now 2 shipments of Russian oil and gas head to Cuba in defiance of U.S. Wow, if you have a opportunity for a Fantastic Freddy or for an actual event to happen, this would be it. The whole reason why everybody said no, nobody's going to bring oil to Cuba, because the U.S. would stop it. Well, now you've got an instance where Russia is actually going to bring oil, and then now the U.S. is going to what are they going to do? Stop it? Are they? I mean, that's what they're supposed to do. That's what they say they're going to do. 2 vessels heading for energy-starved Cuba carrying Russian oil and fuel are due to arrive as early as next week in defiance of the U.S. President Donald Trump's energy embargo, according to maritime intelligence companies. If these ships arrive, they will be Cuba's first energy shipments in 3 months. The island plunged into the nationwide blackout when its entire grid collapsed on Monday, before gradually regaining power on Tuesday. Again, this was just 4 days ago, 3 days ago. They had an entire blackout, and now they are just getting powers back. Of course, China is over there going, hey, we're going to bring you panels and solar so you can get around this. And now Russia's straight up saying we're going to bring gas. This is nuts. Now, this is not the big story tonight. Not on top of the 3-letter agency that ran our lives for 2019 through 2023, saying that they're preparing for a nuclear, catastrophe. One of the biggest things here we'll talk about in just a minute. So stay right there. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to talk about a lot in a short amount of time, so again, buckle up. It is going to be a ride. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So now an F-35 ended up, it had to make an emergency landing. Why, and who is taking credit?
Well, look, so an F-35 jet was forced to make an emergency landing at the U.S. Air Base in the Middle East after being struck by what is believed to be Iranian fire. So the Iranian media obviously have claimed that the IRGC was behind the hit shortly after. But according to Captain Tim Hawkins, spokesperson for U.S. CENTCOM, said the F-35 was flying combat mission over Iran when it was struck and was forced to make an emergency landing. The aircraft landed safely and the pilot is in stable condition. The incident is under investigation to find out. But what's important is this is like one of the first times, obviously, an F-35 is being hit, especially that Iran has hit one in the conflict. And this is one of the most expensive planes. Like, this is supposed to be, untouchable. The F-35, $100 million jet, the 5th generation stealth.
How?
So, yeah.
How did this happen? What did they use? Are they getting stuff from Russia or China? Do they have a defensive weapon or some sort of, land-to-air missile that, was able to get the F-35? This is the F-35. This is one of our most badass jets out there, and it just got dinged. Was it just the circumstance, bad timing? How did this end up happening? Or was it totally tech related, or, something failed on it and it had to make an emergency landing and now Iran's taking credit? Either way, I'm looking at the fact that, China and Russia are now helping Iran in many, many ways. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. It's MJ Mikey says they accidentally hit it, and that very well could be. Even a blind squirrel gets a nut once in a while. Yep, I know that. His name is Timothy. He usually sits up on the top of our fence. Well, he used to. Unfortunately, the dog ended up getting him. But again, Shannon Josissel, thank you so much, Dabs. Thank you, Oscar Anderson. We've got J-Pass James, D. Griffin, thank you. Ben Dennett, thank you so much. Sarah, thank you. Appreciate that. And then Bill, I appreciate you subscribing. Stephen Martin, thank you for subscribing. DJG Mac, thank you for subscribing, or Risk7, aka. And then Wages World, thank you for being a member for 34 months. That's crazy. That's almost 3 years. Flies by. Time flies. That is right. Thank you so much. And again, awesome mod, awesome channel. Go check out Wages. Callie M7L, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you for the super. All right. And let me go into this. Okay, so the U.S. is weighing military reinforcements as Iran enters possible new phase. Now, I don't know if you have been watching some of the coverage and some of the experts weigh in on this, but one of the freaky things that was just said on a big interview that I don't know if it's the Diary of a CEO maybe, but a gentleman came out and he said that it will absolutely lead to a draft of some sort. Now, us imagining a U.S. draft for something like Iran is really hard to imagine. But, Dex, could you see the fact that, if things really, really escalated very quickly, every other military in the world, at least Russia and, of course, others have actually done a draft almost immediately. Even if they didn't need it, they ended up grabbing essentially people off the street almost right away. Could you see us doing something like that or end up grabbing people that weren't necessary?
I don't think it'll happen right away, but it could if we get into a very deep ground engagement. I'd like to think that to me the ground engagement is like taking Karg Island. Like if they just go in and take Karg Island, as everyone said, that's the Achilles heel for Iran. Then you now control the oil. Not only that, you control it. What oil would go to China too. And if you can pull off just taking that island, which, is very small, it's not that big, probably had 1,000 troops on it, so it doesn't take a lot to take it over. Then can you defend it? That's the next question. Once you grab it, what's the force like across the water? It's not a long distance, but it is across water from mainland Iran. How do you defend that island? So I think that, to me, is step one, and that would probably take some time. Probably at least a month, not to do it, but a month before we would see, like, okay, do we have to go beyond that? Do we have to move troops onto the mainland Iran? And then it's like, okay, how far do we go? Is it just taking out missile sites that are along the shorelines that can attack boats? Or do we have to go all the way in and topple the regime, which then turns into something like Iraq, where we're sending in just thousands and thousands of soldiers? And yes, then I think we get into a nasty scenario.
And the sources did not believe a deployment of ground forces anywhere in Iran was imminent, but declined to discuss specifics of U.S. operational planning, which makes sense. Experts say the task of securing Iran's uranium stockpiles would be highly complex and risky. Remember, you've got who talking about, worrying about a nuclear event in Iran. And they specifically say it doesn't have to be a missile. It doesn't have to be something like that. They talk about, or a factory being hit, or a nuclear power plant, or say you've got this stockpile of all of this nuclear uranium or something that they've built there. Everybody, says, oh, they don't have a nuke, they don't have this. Well, they still are talking about how much supplies they have, the materials that they may have gotten out of those places before we ended up striking them. They keep talking, when Keir Starmer a couple weeks ago at the beginning of this spoke, he's like, well, we absolutely cannot let them get a nuclear device. Well, if you're working with countries like Russia and China, Russia is known to have given nuclear EMPs and things like this to North Korea. So in a situation like this, we got to look at this and look at how the media is covering it, who is actually talking about this. Literally, I didn't even mean to say that, but that is a true statement. And what agencies are talking about it. And in this case, this is something you really got to pay attention to, because now they're talking about ground invasion. Myself, I believe this is absolutely going to happen. There is no de-escalation of this conflict. Iran has been on this list for a very long time, and this is happening. But what else is going to kick off because of it? Starshine, thank you for gifting out 5 badges to your fellow Fugel family members. That's really, really cool. Thank you so much. Samuel Turner, thank you, and welcome to the fam. Yeah, so... and they said, speaking on the condition of anonymity, which they put in every one of these, there has been no decision to send ground troops at this time, but President Trump wisely keeps all options at his disposal. Now, I've pointed out, when they start saying this is on the option, this is the option on the table, and when they put this out numerous times, that is because this is what's going to happen, and this is my opinion. They are going to do ground troops. They're going to do a ground invasion. They are now soft releasing it to us. They are now giving us the slow drip, so we are used to the fact, so they get the initial reactions. They know exactly who is going to criticize a ground operation. They know who's going to come out and say they're against it. They know who is going to just, kind of flip over and turn over and say, oh, whatever. And then it will end up happening. Every time. Media is very, very telling when you start seeing the patterns of how they release things, especially when there's a condition of anonymity source involved. This is something that is purposely being leaked. Think about that. If it's not being purposely leaked, that is somebody, doing espionage or treasonous, sharing of intel. This is something that is purposely leaked, and there is a reason. That is because they are going to do it. That is my opinion. What's yours? Let me know in the comments down below. Now, before we move on, if you want to protect yourself against an EMP, there's one device that we recommend, which is an EMP shield. This is a device that you can wire into your car in less than 10 minutes. Again, it will protect you against not only an EMP blast from an adversary, but also a Carrington-level event from the sun. It grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before an EMP blast or a Carrington-level event could fry your device or car or truck, motorcycle, boat, generator. And again, this is a device you can only get from EMP Shield. This is the same company and same tech that is outfitting agencies like DHS, DOD, Department of War, FBI, Air Force, all sorts of other agencies, including DEMSO, protecting the Texas grid. So if you want to go check it out, go to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. You'll get $50 off per device, which stacks on top of sales, and you're going to help in our independent channel at the same time. All right, Dex, let's go to the next piece, and if you want to intro that.
Yeah, certainly. So they're talking now about what was just used in the Strait of Hormuz. So the U.S. has been pounding that area, not only going after the anti-ship missile sites, but they're going after the deep ones, the underground ones, because the presumption is that all of these missiles just keep popping out, and they're popping out from underground. So the U.S. forces had targeted the hardened Iranian missile sites on the Iranian side of the Strait of Hormuz with bunker buster bombs in an effort to prevent the attacks on the shipping that is transiting the strategically key waterway. So U.S. forces successfully deployed bunker busters against the hardened Iranian missile sites along that coastline specifically, which Iran has effectively closed off by just by way of threatening to shoot down or shoot out any of the ships that are going through. So U.S. CENTCOM said on a post that 5,000-pound deep penetrator munitions were used because the anti-ship missiles at the site posed a risk to the international shipping in the strait. They didn't provide any other details about how they were used or what they came for, or if they if there was a similar type that were used by for the Iranian nuclear facility in Fedora. I would assume it probably is the same type of bunker buster. But that's the update. So pretty significant use of technology. But again, like, is it going to make a difference? Like, do they go deep enough? How many holes are there, or how many caves are they hiding out in? And do they just pop out everywhere, or do we even know where they all are? Right? I mean, there's lots of questions that, I'm sure people in the military at a high level that are doing this and the intelligence business have a lot of that information. But I certainly would question, like, how successful is this really?
And of course, this is nothing against the U.S. I mean, I think that we're being lied to. I mean, it is. I think we're being lied to about how successful a lot of this is going, because this is a very touchy subject. This is something where, in my belief, they were doing a first strike because they believed that the U.S. was under threat. And that sounds crazy to some people, but I believe that this was an attempt to essentially, cut in line their attack on us for World War III. That this was China and allies' attack against us, and that we ended up trying to cut it off at the Y. Like basically put a roadblock up and stop it before it ever happened. And that's why I think that a lot of these things happen, including ICE and everything else that was going on. There was a very, very strategic reason for doing all of this at the same time. So these bunker busters, if they're not doing as well as they say, then obviously it's not a good thing. Also, the fact that now they're saying that we are even potentially low on stockpiles on not only regular missiles, ballistic missiles, but bunker busters as well. They're worried about that now, and that's what you're going to see in the next week as well. And then let's see here. We have, of course, Trump suggests U.S. could finish off Iran and let other countries secure the Strait of Hormuz. Dex, in this case, I really, it's almost like this could be another statement to bounce back the market, but also it's kind of his side, tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, we'll just let you guys handle this kind of thing. What do you think of that?
Well, yeah, he's trying to get others to participate, whether it's, as one part of the media wants to say, he's begging for help because he can't get the job done, or as he's saying, hey, no, we can actually do this and we're going to do it. But it would be nice if those of you who actually participate in, or those of you that actually benefit from the oil flowing through here, came and participated and put your skin in the game. And so whether or not whoever's right on that message is one thing, but that's sort of the same thing he's saying here again. He's like, yeah, well, okay, well, we went down this path of trying to build a coalition. So, if that's not going to work, then what we're going to do is we're just going to finish the job. But then somebody else is going to have to come in here and take over policing the strait. And it is an issue because, it's not like you just cut the head off the snake, so to speak, and it's all done. Because if that was the case, this would have been over weeks ago. As you described in that video the other day, very well, like there's so many different decentralized groups, and there's also, while some reports say 80% are against the Ayatollah, 20% are for him. If you take that number, well, 20% of the population there is still a lot of millions of people, like 20 plus million people probably or more. So even if you think you do damage and all of a sudden things settle down, I promise you next week they kick right back up again, because those people that are on the side of the Ayatollah and the side of the IRGC are still going to move forward. And it's going to be a long battle of dealing with that. Even if you tried to put in a brand new government, if all of a sudden the people, decided to go to become a democracy and vote in a president and all that stuff, and and that happens, that country itself, the new version of Iran, would still have to spend a significant amount of time, money, and effort to push down those millions of people that are in the old regime that will constantly be fighting back, either against the new Iran or against those that perpetrated their loss of Iran. And when you're talking 20 million people with lots of missiles that still have them, they've got them stacked up by the thousands in underground locations all over. That stuff's still going to happen. It's going to take years for that to ever change.
Right now, looking at it, the Fugel fam, I hope that a lot of you that have been here for a lot of years, there's a lot of really, really old school Fugel fam here. I hope that a lot of you have kind of a basic plan here, because this is definitely going in the direction we all predicted it would go. So I'm hoping that many of you already have a setup of some sort or a basic plan with your family on how to meet if something goes wrong, because right now we are at that precipice, right? With all these events happening in Iran. And speaking of which, there is just this thing rearing its head, which is China and Russia. Just as we talked about with Russia now helping Cuba, sending oil. That is an instance. It's not like before when you had these instances where you could have two heads bump and they said, oh, well, this could end up being a trigger for World War III. We are already in this massive war. And now you actually have multiple countries with the U.S. just taking out the head of the snake. Venezuela, they took out Maduro, they took out Khamenei, and now Cuba, you have that situation. This is a situation where you actually have these two massive big allies and peer-to-peer adversaries now right involved and right next to everything. Now they're saying, of course, Chinese missiles targeting U.S. Navy could trigger overnight war shift. And this is what really I need to point out, is the overnight war shift. Just as we woke up one morning, and I said one morning we could wake up with Maduro in a boat, getting sent back or getting taken, that's exactly what happened. Overnight, it was over. It was like, boom, they grabbed Maduro. This is not going to be that way. Now this is going to go absolutely like nobody thought it was going to go, and much, much longer than everybody thought. We're already at almost a month. It says the risk of a broader global conflict rising as China's indirect role in the Iran crisis comes into sharper focus, with new concerns emerging over weapons used against U.S. forces. Gatestone Institute senior fellow Gordon Chang joined Fox News to discuss how Beijing's support of Iran could quickly escalate tensions with the United States. Chang pointed out that reports of advanced weapons used by Iran may already be tied to China, raising the stakes for any future confrontation. I want to go back to this story. Again, we had the F-35, right? This F-35 that got knocked down. That is absolutely a potential that they ended up having something go on with that. Again, this F-35 that went down, this could be why that is being covered. Look at the timing of it. They now come out and say, yeah, China's missiles could totally be a part of this. Well, if F-35s can be knocked down, which everybody thinks that everything built in China and all their defenses are crap, that might not be the absolute truth. Maybe that we ended up playing a move in a chess game where they weren't expecting it, but now they do have better stuff. We were able to turn off the lights with whatever tools or space-based stuff that we did for Venezuela go in undetected, but is that going to work twice, right? Are the defenses just going to be able to be turned off? Well, in this case, now they have stuff that can possibly hit our F-35s. This is bad. It is very bad, especially if the truth of it is that China stuff is better than what we think it is. And I'm not trying to give them a compliment, but everybody puts down China stuff like it's just going to fall apart. That's not what I believe will show in the end. Dex, let's talk.
Well, that's a good point, and I think we got to consider, look at what the U.S. did for Ukraine against Russia, right? So flip the roles. Imagine if tomorrow China does for Iran what we did for Ukraine. And all of a sudden we're in Putin's shoes, right? We're the ones trying to finish off this engagement, and the whole thing's being flooded by China with massive amounts of weapons that is, causing or making it difficult for us to actually start making any headway, or we start losing more F-35s, or we see a ship get hit, right? That's gonna make a huge difference.
Role reversal.
It is absolutely going to make, and it's interesting because Trump said, "Hey, I need to postpone my trip to Beijing, because I'm kind of busy with this war." But is it really that he's busy with that war, or is he saying, you know what, I'm really at war with China, I'm not going to go to Beijing, there's no reason for me to go there?
Which brings us to our next story here. Oh, wait, no. In a second, we're going to talk about it. Okay, we'll actually go back to China here in a second, and we're going to get to that because they have a very specific claim about China, and I'm wondering why the heck are they saying this right now? It is very, very weird. But even weirder. Okay, so if you haven't seen, a lot of people have thought that Mr. Bibi has not been around. Like he supposedly may have been taken out like March 2nd or a couple weeks ago. And ever since, there's been these weird videos that have been released. Now, if you're immediately going, oh, God, what an idiot. Oh, of course he is. That's just dumb people on the internet. Well, there was a lot of really, really weird stuff that was being posted. And there was a reason why almost all of X was talking about this and why so many people question this. Because it was weird. You're in a war. You're not doing press conferences. You're not making it to war cabinet meetings, but you're taking 3-minute, TikTok videos in a cafe, or going on a hike, or putting out 2 videos back to back saying, ha ha ha, yeah, I only have 5 fingers, joking about the fact that your first video people thought was AI. Well, now there's another video that they put out, and this one, which is what I said, well, it's hard to debunk this. Dex and I were just talking about this the other day. It's hard to debunk it. Like, he needs to come to the U.S., be seen by regular people, or go into Congress with hundreds and hundreds of people, which, again, they could fake if they wanted to. They could fake anything you want. And people could always claim, oh, that's AI. But I said, at least go into a press conference, not just sit in front of these 2 flags here, but to be in a press conference with multiple reporters and have everybody there. Well, in this case, there was one person who was able to ask a question. There was one shot of basically that he's in a room with people, so people doubt it, because that could have easily been just one person. Before this, you've got media all over the place claiming, oh, well, we saw him. You got one American guy from one journal saying, oh, well, I saw him. You've got the people from the cafe saying, well, he was at our cafe. We work there. Oh, he totally came in. That's him. He's alive. But then not posting the footage. They're like, we got footage of him in the cafe. Again, then not posting the footage, just posting a picture of him at the cafe. Super weird. Well, now there's a video that shows him at this press conference, shows him talking to people, which I said would be kind of the requirement. But then this one has a weird freaking glitch. Dex, is this... let me pull up my tweet here. I'll show you. I know. Yeah, I might have just retweeted it. Or repost it.
Yeah, your tweet. Yeah, grab your tweet, because it's totally different. The one that's on the website is just the sleeve.
Okay.
Everybody's up in arm about that the sleeve moves. But
okay, so let me go to 246. All right, I'm going to show you this, and then you're going to be like, okay, I want to get your guys' opinion. Let me see here. Let me unmute.
If people want to be naive, that they don't see the kind of world we're living in. It's not enough to be just. It's not enough to be right.
Sorry, Matt.
One of the...
Okay, right here, I'm going to pause it. It starts glitching, like, and again, this could be the signal going out, or the signal of the live broadcast, or Dex, what do you call it? The compression, right? It could be compression, I think.
There's compression.
Yeah, so watch.
The greatest...
Look at this. And mind you, a lot of people caught this. You see, like, the eyes kind of singled up. Now, mind you, that could be compression. Watch. Look at how drastic that is from the second to second.
One of the greatest...
When it disappears, it's very apparent that something was there before, right? And it almost looks like totally different eyes. It's weird. And mind you, I pulled up about 15 different videos, including the YouTubers that ended up making some of the first Tom Cruise deepfakes. I pulled up a literal deepfake video. There's one of Anderson Cooper that's a good one. There's another ones. Basically, when they put their hands in front of something in these videos, that's exactly what happened. And the computer was trying to, essentially, it had a glitch where you could briefly see, just like a Snapchat filter, you could briefly see the person's face underneath. I'm not saying that's what this is. But I question it because, holy crap, the proof that you are totally alive, they made sure this time, oh, well, people say, oh, you would have to be at a press conference. Everybody's saying this all over. You would have to be at a press conference with tons of people. They end up doing this press conference where literally one question is asked and it turns to the crowd once, and it's one guy standing up and then like a background. And people are questioning this because this is important. If he's gone, people ask, well, why would they cover that up? Why would they not, scream to the edge of the world? Well, it would be a huge, huge win for Iran if they ended up taking him out. Or are they hiding him if he is, not being showing? Why couldn't he be in a secure place and take a video and, just put that out? And people say, oh, that's what he's been putting out. Well, the videos he's been putting out, there shouldn't be any of these glitches. And again, they just keep catching weird stuff. The cabinet meeting that he was a part of, they even show he's a different, overall color. He looks like he's pasted in. The table in front of him, there's vents all the way across under every computer. The one in front of his is different. Looks almost like it was, hand painted in. So, Dex, is there a timestamp on this thing? This is what people are saying that they caught. I didn't even see this. I saw the 246. Let me show you this. Where's the timestamp of the hand?
The nuclear threat.
Yeah, it's just in there. This is a clip.
The ballistic missile threat. One,
Okay, so watch lower right-hand corner.
Second, removing the ballistic missile threat. One.
Okay. Oh, okay. Dex, I don't know, man. Watch, it just pops out of nowhere. Watch.
One, removing the nuclear threat.
What?
Second, removing the ballistic missile threat.
Watch in the beginning again.
One,
Whoop.
removing the nuclear threat.
Like,
Second,
like they hit the water when you hit 50. Okay?
one, removing the nuclear threat.
Dex, you were also saying we were trying to make some sense of this.
Well, yeah, I mean, people are wondering, why, some people are saying, well, the white sleeve is showing. Well, that's normal. Look, he's grabbing onto a podium and is leaning back. And when you're wearing a suit, your jacket slides up with your shoulders. So that's very typical. But I think the question people have is the material that drops from below the hand, below the wrist, into frame. That's
all of a sudden,
I think most people are questioning. Now, you can make the argument the material was caught on the podium at the corner, and then as he pulled back, it came loose and dropped down. That could be a logical explanation, but you also could say AI was doing something weird. I don't know.
I don't know, Dex. I thought that it was a different clip where it kind of gets longer. This is even more drastic. God, this is so bad. I almost thought it was like somebody else did it on purpose to make it look like AI. It's like a clear just plop.
Yeah, move it up on screen. There you go. Can't see it.
Watch. Yeah, he leans back, but it's so fast. It's like poof, and then there's a lot of extra sleeve there. I mean, that looks like it was inserted. That's just weird.
But there is that much sleeve dangling as his hand goes up, right? Do you see that underneath the palm?
But look, 1 second before that, was there something holding it up and all of a sudden it dropped? I mean, it looks like somebody all of a sudden dropped a grocery bag, just whoop, into frame.
Yeah, that's a podium edge. There's a ledge behind his hand, and it's on the ledge, and then for some reason it falls off the ledge to the side. At least that's what is being shown on the screen.
In like the most sudden and weird, drastic way.
Yeah, and does that happen just because he's holding the podium and leaning back? And
but if he
causes the sleeve to pull up his arm, is that enough reason for it to fall off the side?
But even if he leans back and it's an angled podium, it would just slowly rest on it the whole way because it would be going down a slide. But it just goes whoop. I don't know.
So that's why I'm saying people are questioning it. And, you know, there is a logical explanation that you can say, but then when you look at it, it's like your eyes kind of deceive you and go, I don't know. So I don't know. You guys decide. I got no skin in this particular game because I can't tell if it's AI or not.
I wonder if let me see here. I was at a clip here. In fact, yes, this is the video. So let me show you. And you'll see the same kind of artifact right here. Watch when he puts watch when he puts the coin up. Watch this. You see that? I can't stop it fast enough to get that. It's between 50 and 51 seconds of this video. Right there. And it's hard to see. It's 50 to 51 seconds. So go over right there. Right there. You see it? I cannot stop it on that thing. But if you see it, it's the exact same thing that happens to his what looks like happens to his face for that brief second. Again, very, very, very weird. All right. And that is a video by Vice. It does a brief kind of breakdown of the deepfakes. And deepfakes can be done live. Deepfakes can actually be done like as somebody... if I'm sitting here, I could literally do a deepfake of somebody else talking. In general, it's easier if the rest of me looks like that person. Like the guy who plays the Tom Cruise, he looks like Tom Cruise, sort of. He's got the same kind of features, but then they paste over the face. Yeah, I don't know what to say. All right, getting to what is actually really freaky, though. And again, we'll be talking about China. Again, that is next. Before we do, make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, this is freeze-dried food that you can use in an emergency or in a storm or an earthquake or in just general where you can't get to a store or to food or there is no supply chain. Any kind of scenario where you are stuck, it is great to have this kind of food on hand. All you have to do is add either hot water or cook in sauce or cook in water, and it brings all the life back to this food. Again, and it can be preserved up to 25 years. That is the awesome part about freeze-dried food. What is really awesome about this is that this is one of the most affordable ways to get it through My Patriot Supply. Go to marfooglenews.com/prep. There is no code needed. There's always usually a 1 month or a 3 month sale that's huge. You're talking about less than what it would cost you to go to the store for a month of groceries. You would get, again, a month of freeze-dried food that can last for 25 years until the year 2052. So go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Again, they have other stuff there as well, like the Alexa purification system. All right. And then China will not invade Taiwan in 2027. And I almost thought, man, are they being technical here? Is it going to happen in 2026? Why did they even put this out? Like, why did they specifically put this out? Remember, the president said that China was going to wait until he was out of office to do anything. And it literally says, like, hey, they said that they wouldn't do it while I'm in office. Again, now they're saying that China is not planning to invade Taiwan in 2027, according to an assessment by U.S. intelligence agencies. Instead, Beijing is seeking to gain control of the island without use of force. I'm sorry. So basically they're saying, oh no, they're still going to invade, but they're going to do it peacefully, right? But they're saying that they would like to do this without using the use of force. Chinese leaders do not currently plan to execute an invasion of Taiwan in 2027, nor do they have a fixed timeline for achieving unification. The report added that despite the threat to use force, China prefers to achieve unification without the use of force. Of course they're going to say that. But what's weird is this is an assessment. Who is doing this assessment? First of all, if you wait until 2028, 2029 when Trump is out, Trump is literally building the Golden Dome system, which is supposed to literally get rid of MAD, mutually assured destruction. So why would China wait? Not to mention everything that's going on with Iran, everything that happened with Colombia, everything that happened with Ecuador and Venezuela and Cuba right now. Do you think that this is all going to go in this ramp and then just all of a sudden go, oh, psych, we're going to wait 3 years for China? No. This is all happening in such a way that it's just so weird that they're saying this assessment not in 2027. Dex, what did you think about this? I think it's weird that they're putting this assessment out that's saying they're not going to do it in 2027.
Yeah, well, I think they're going to do it in 2026, but you never know. It just seems like the time, if China was ever going to do it, like America's kind of distracted right now in a big way, especially if all of a sudden things get heated with Cuba over the oil going in from Russia. If we have to start playing on all these different spaces, it's going to be real simple. We just moved another amphibious group out of the Asian area. I believe it was in that area that was heading in, and there may be even a second one coming in. So, like, to whatever extent, we're not strong in the South China Sea at the moment. So if China wants to take Taiwan, somebody said April was the other month. April and October are the 2 months of the year that are good. I think that was Drops Homestead or somebody told us that the other night. If that's the case, then I would, if I was China, I'd be like moving in next month.
Mad Million says, knocked down, I thought it landed. And I believe you were talking about the F-35. No, I was saying, technically, you could say if they hit it with something that they knocked it down, it landed. No, it safely landed, but that's the thing. If they have something that can knock down our F-35s, that's terrifying. If it was hit on accident, or if there was a C-RAM going and the F-35 just happened to be, driving right where something was firing, yeah. But if the timing of it is very suspicious, that they now talk about right on the dot, Chinese missiles may do this overnight shift in the war. Pete Hegseth has said that they know China has the ability and missiles that could take out our Navy and our carriers in as little as 20 minutes. So I believe Pete Hegseth over, anybody else right now, because he actually said something that, that was kind of off key. It's not something he should be saying. It's not something that you would expect them to say with the whole, America, America, America. He said something that was saying, hey, America is vulnerable right now, which I think is the truth. Blackbird says, good day, I'm watching from Tasmania, $2.50 a liter unleaded here today. So what is that? Does that mean that it is it's $8 or $10 a gallon? Is that right, Dex? Is there 4 liters in a gallon? Is that correct? I'm stupid here. Dex, by your pause, you may not know
I'm just looking it up.
Metric system.
So $2.50 per liter is equivalent to approximately $9.40 per gallon. If it was US dollars, he's talking Australian dollars, and then you got to convert that. So,
well, and again, Blackbird, are you talking about Australian dollars? I wonder what that is. He put the dollar sign like the US dollar, but yeah, that's crazy. I heard that it was $8 or $9 in Australia, but that was about a year ago when that other thing happened. And then, thank you again, Starshine, Samuel Turner, thank you, Callie, and Wages World. What do you guys think about China, and why are they putting this assessment out saying they will not invade Taiwan in 2027? I think it's odd timing, and I wonder if it's one of those technicalities. Well, no, we said they wouldn't invade in 2027. They're going to invade in late 2026. Just my opinion. I've been saying that for a year and a half now. All right, and then the who we're talking about right now. Officials admit that they are preparing for possible nuclear weapon use in Iran. Now, we talked about this over on Marfoogle TV, or I'm sorry, Marfoogle News. But yeah, this is something where you have to pay attention to who is saying it. No pun intended. This is something where back in 2018, late 2018, early 2019, going into 2019, we knew something was up. And we knew certain agencies doing certain, exercises and certain drills really was something to pay attention to. They ended up doing this graph that ended up showing how the world would be affected if we had the event that happened in 2019. So I'm watching to see if they put out any kind of data on how this is going to kind of go, because their exercises, their simulations, their data of how it would affect the world was eerily similar to reality. In fact, it was literally on the dot. Even their exercise saying what could happen right before it actually did was super on point. Their graph that showed how the world would be affected if this potential thing hit us, that was also on point. So when you see that they are potentially preparing for a nuclear disaster of some sort, that could all be par for the course of something that is being talked about, being prepared by this agency, which everyone knows this agency was running the planet for a few years there. Kind of nuts. And we pulled out, right, Dex? And we are no longer a part of them, or at least for now we're not.
Yeah, we're not funding them. We're completely out. So we were the biggest funder.
Huh. And I wonder if they're happy about that. There's always those big agencies like healthcares and just these groups, entities that are just bigger than life itself. Those scare the hell out of me.
Imagine how much waste is in that. Like, imagine all the money we spent there. Imagine how much of that. And when you look at everything else, like even inside our own country, how much fraud there is. Just imagine like how much money of that has been wasted inside an organization like that.
Cue the meme of money burning in pits. Make sure to go check out marfooglenews.com/Jace. You can get a kit. Again, it looks like somebody actually grabbed one earlier over on news. Thank you. I appreciate that. This is a Jace case. It has all of your commonly prescribed antibiotics all in a handy kit that you can have sent directly to your door. marfooglenews.com/Jace, code MARF. And then we're going to talk about tomorrow. Make sure to join tomorrow. We're actually going to go over some of the things that we've been hearing in spaces, so make sure to join then. Also, I'll be going over some of the stuff over the last week of X. It is Friday tomorrow, so again, we're going to try something new tomorrow. Make sure to join us for that show. I appreciate everybody that was here, including Ilea. Thank you so much for modding. Blackbird, Mad Million, Starshine, thank you. Callie, Wages World, and everyone else, thank you so much. There will not be a shout-out tonight. Again, thank you so much for your support. But tomorrow, again, it will be a Friday, so you guys know how it goes. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Dex, thank you so much for your service. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother.
All right, you guys, have a great night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.
Inside lies the truth behind every one of their lies. Everyone in the end said they will lose sight. They chose darkness.